Well, the New York Times is asking, can you find eggs here or there? Can you find them anywhere? This is Dr. Seuss or something. Forget about green eggs. You can't get any kind of eggs. And so the New York Times goes to Whole Foods in Manhattan to shop, of course. A grocery staple that for decades has been relatively cheap and reliable has now become elusive, even lavishly priced commodity. At Whole Foods, they said, the shelves were empty for the cheapest eggs that were $3.39 for a carton of 12. What remained were more expensive options like organic, cage-free eggs for more than $7 a dozen. Even then, customers were limited to 2 egg cartons, according to a sign on the refrigerator door, due to a nationwide shortage of eggs. And, of course, we saw this. I went with Karen earlier in the week to the grocery store, and where the eggs are, they had signs that said, I think it was HPAI. Due to, HPAI, and I had to look that up. I think it was HP. It was something like high-potency avian influenza. I knew the AI was avian influenza, bird flu, whatever. But that's all they said. Well, there's a lot more to it than that, quite frankly. That is a factor. It's one of many different factors. New York Times says since the outbreak was detected last February, more than 57 million birds and hundreds of commercial and backyard flocks have been affected by it. Flocks have been culled to prevent the virus from spreading. And so you've seen depopulation of more than 44 million laying hens in the U.S. since the outbreak, according to the Agricultural Department. And the president and chief executive of the American Egg Board says, while bird flu has played a role, increasing costs of fuel, feed, and packaging have also contributed to pricier and scarcer eggs. Is avian flu a factor? Yes, she said. Is it the only factor? No, and I would argue that it's not even the biggest factor when where these prices are right now. There's an excellent video that came out of the UK. He's saying the same thing in the UK. Listen to what a farmer who is, involved in the egg business had to say.
Better get this one out there before the supermarkets put their story across and cancel everyone else out. So when you go into a supermarket now, you might see that there is a bit of an egg shortage. So not many eggs on the shelf to buy, not free range, not organic, nothing. So you're struggling to find eggs. Supermarkets are going to tell you this is because of avian flu, which, to be fair, there has been a lot of cases of avian flu. But do you want to know the real reason why there's an egg shortage? It's because the supermarkets won't pay the farmers for the eggs. So the supermarkets have upped their price for you, the consumer, but they haven't filtered that price increase down to us, the farmers. So our cost of producing these eggs has skyrocketed. Feed, electric, the price of new birds, that's gone up. But our price of eggs has stayed the same. So we physically can't afford to produce these eggs. So currently there's been 8 million less free-range hens ordered for next year's flocks. So that's just under 8 million eggs every day that we're not going to be producing. So that's 8 million eggs less every single day that we don't produce. And we're already 3 million eggs short of being self-sufficient. So the UK have to import 3 million eggs every day to feed the nation. And now we're losing another 8 million birds because the supermarkets won't pay us. And they're going to blame the farmers. They'll be like, oh, well, the farmers should just stock them and produce you great British food. But we can't afford to. If the supermarkets paid us a fair price for our eggs, then we would stock our sheds and there would be more sheds going up and the UK could be self-sufficient in great British eggs. But the supermarkets won't pay us. So if you can make any sense of that, or if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. But yeah, the current egg shortage isn't really due to avian flu. It's because the supermarkets are refusing to pay us a fair price for our produce.
You see, once we start kicking in the supply chain, once we throw that wrench in the machinery, it just starts going in every direction. And of course, there's a lot of different things that are happening. They're getting squeezed in the middle. They're not the middleman. They're getting squeezed by the middleman. They're also getting squeezed by the people who are transporting stuff in many cases. Railroads. As a matter of fact, you got chickens in California are starving because the farmers can't get the corn shipments to the chickens because the railroad's like, we got other things that we'd rather do. They have to go to the transportation board and force them to deliver this stuff. And this is the second time this has happened. So you got rising cost of supplies, you have shortages of things, and as he's pointing out, it's going to get much worse next year. This is why, even though we are now closing in on 3 years of this insanity, things are still continuing to escalate, and they're going to get worse next year because all of the shocks and the back and forth throughout the supply chain. So going back to California, millions of chickens have gone unfed as rail disruptions are delaying corn shipments to a California poultry farm, according to documents that provide unique details of how one shipper has suffered from poor rail service. And of course, we've seen other aspects of this. This is not the first time we've seen the railroads doing this. Saying, well, I'm not going to carry this stuff. I've got some other things. People are paying me more for that. And it's just a lack of capacity. The same way we see things happening all the time with now with the airline industry. Personnel shortages, kick people out. People have died from this stuff. And antiquated systems that aren't working. People who are hacking into the system to mess it up. Foster Farms, which processes about 1 million chickens and 12,000 turkeys every day, has said that it's had to pause some operations because of delays from Union Pacific, the second largest freight railroad in North America. The supply issues also forced the company to shut down a plant that processes raw corn into animal feed to sell it, said the federal filings. That meant cutting off its dairy farm customers from cornmeal and giving priority to its chickens. Well, they can't feed the cattle. I guess they can put the cattle out, maybe let them graze a little bit to give them something. I don't know. But they got to give priority to the chickens. Why? Because the chickens start killing each other when they go hungry. After a flurry of correspondence that offers unfiltered insight into shippers' problems with rail service, the U.S. Surface Transportation Board ordered Union Pacific to deliver more corn-laden trains to Foster Farms. This is the second time in the past year that Foster Farms has had to ask the rail regulator to intervene directly because of Union Pacific's failure to deliver animal feed trains on time. It is also the latest in a long, simmering tussle between shippers and railroads, which have seen profits rise as carloads are dwindling. So they're actually doing less but raising the prices. How do they get away with doing that? But that's what we're seeing. That's what the farmer said. So the people who are delivering feed to the farmers are doing less, but they're making a lot more. Their profits are soaring, even though they're shipping less. And as this farmer in the UK was saying, he said, look, all of our costs are going up, but they won't pay us anymore at the supermarkets. So the supermarkets are getting a shortage, and it's going to get far worse next year. These service failures, which began in February 2022, have resulted in numerous instances where Foster Farms has suspended its production and its distribution of feed for tens of thousands of dairy cattle, tens of millions of chickens and turkeys. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.